Hi everyone, my name's Martin and welcome to another great edition of MP Astro. Now, can you remember quite a few months back I did a product review on this Daystar QUARK, which is the hydrogen alpha eyepiece. Now, as you remember, if you've not seen that video, please check it out at the top. Alright, I did a very inclusive, in a lot of detail on this product, because believe me, there's a lot of reviews out there, but they are very lacking of this device. All right, this device is probably the best bang for anyone's pocket. All right, if you wish to delve into any hydrogen alpha solar imaging and you want to see the solar flares, the prominences, unique solar detail on the sun's surface, right? You want to open up a new world where you can look at the sun safely without damaging your eyes through a telescope and seeing fantastic images of that surface on the sun. Now, at the moment, getting this QUARK is probably the best opportunity to buy at the moment, because at the moment the sun's surface activity is getting really active, and there seems to be a lot more prominences, a lot less solar flares, filaments, you name it. There's a lot of things that's happening at the moment on the sun. Now, at the moment, you can buy this at a reasonable price, brand new, at a reasonable price of £999. I have actually seen these also second hand around £800. So if you do see one for £800, it's probably worth checking out some of the second hand markets out there. And I know there is one particular website, which is the ENS Optical. They do have these occasionally getting sold at a decent price. So if you could pick one up for £800, it's an absolute bargain. Because believe me, if you're on a limited budget, yes, £800 sounds a lot of money to a lot of people. But when you buy this item, you are not restricted on what you can do with this eyepiece. Right, and the good thing about this eyepiece, you will never outgrow it. Right, there is always something you can do with this QUARK Solar eyepiece. Now, at the moment, you think once you've got this, you think everything is flat curved. Right, everything's gone cheaper, but it doesn't. Now, I've come to this point where I've used this fantastic eyepiece on the 80mm ED refractor, fantastic through the given aperture. Providing you're using an infrared UV filter, you will protect the QUARK eyepiece from burning up. Now, there's one thing I've noticed when you're using larger apertures, you've got to be very careful when you're using this eyepiece. If you're using larger apertures, which this solar eyepiece can be used, all right, you'll get a lot of heat build up into the main tube, and believe me, it gets really hot. And when I was using the 80 ED refractor, that tube, that optical tube inside, the baffles and all that, I could feel as I touched the optical tube, it was so hot. And it was actually quite scary in a way that if that filter did crack, that given off chance, it would start to damage the QUARK. All right. So I took a lot of serious consideration here. And to be honest with you, I was sort of pushing it that I think, well, I can only use the QUARK for an 80mm aperture, but I've got this 102mm aperture refractor, right? This would be absolutely amazing to fit the QUARK and see what level of detail that I'll get. I have no idea what sort of detail I'll get from this achromat, but because of this extra aperture, All right, this 102 millimeter aperture of 4 inches will give me some fantastic views through the QUARK. I have no idea what kind of detail or level of detail that I'll see with this telescope. And the main pro is though, using that QUARK with just the IR UV filter, I don't think it's going to cut it, and I'm not going to prepare to risk the chance of producing so much optical heat from the sun's energy, because if that filter fails, it will start to damage the QUARK. Now, the UV, if you use a good quality UV or IR filter from Baader, it says that you can use the QUARK up to 120 millimeter of aperture. Personally, I do not like pushing the limits to that. I think it's dangerous, and to be honest with you, I would not like to push the limits trusting a filter. If it fails, then things will be catastrophic. So I've looked closely and I've done a lot of research. So in this video I've been scanning around on the website looking for an alternative use, and there is one optical device that you can fit over any telescope, all right, particular refractors. Now this is purely focused on refractors, and I've been looking at a lot of energy reduction filters. Now these energy reduction filters have special optical glass that will filter out all the harmful rays of a given telescope. And what that does is it reduces that heat, hopefully down to about 99% of it, so that only a certain amount of light passes through, and certain level, an acceptable level of heat can pass through. It will protect the optical tube and the QUARK at the same time. Now, believe me, I've gone through a lot of research, and I must admit, I had a heart attack. Yes, what an absolute money pit to find an energy reduction filter. And I must admit, I was absolutely shocked how much they cost. They probably is the most expensive filter I have ever come across, and we're talking thousands of pounds, absolute thousands of pounds for an ERF filter system for solar work. It really is. I dropped back. I thought I had a heart attack. I started sweating and everything, and it's like, what a dilemma is this? I must admit, of all the things I pay for, like, you know, I paid for some expensive equipment, but an ERF at £1,000 plus, really? I was absolutely like shocked. So, however, all is not lost. All right, I've been scanning around and I did find an alternative, a good alternative, a safe alternative. So in this video, please hit the like button, all right, because I've done a lot of research, a lot of hard work put into this video, and it may actually give you some ideas. Also, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe onto this channel. And again, please share this video out, because this will give you some ideas. It may help someone else who's got this dilemma of looking for an energy reduction filter. And also, please hit the notifications bell as well. By hitting that bell will keep you notified for any new videos that's going to be coming out very soon. And believe me, I have loads of videos coming out. So with this energy reduction filter that I found, all right, this alternative solution, please, if you want to find out more about this video, keep watching and let's do this. So then, guys and girls, what I'd like to share, the alternative solution is this. Now, as you can see here, this is a product designed by Altair Astro, a very good company indeed. All right, they do make really good telescopes as well, and any optical cameras and all that. So there's one thing I like to share about this Altair Astro 115mm aperture. Now this is designed for hydrogen alpha ERF, right? So this you can use on 4" to 4.5" refractors. This costs around £535, which is the cheapest one I can find at the moment. Believe me, if there is any ERFs out there, right, you could pay a lot less, but what you probably find that you can just pay for the optical glass. All right, this is very, very highly precision optics. Now, if we take a closer look, this optical glass filters out all the 99.5 harmful rays, right? And this will reduce the heat buildup. Okay, so it's not any other kind of glass you use. This glass is specifically designed for all optical devices. Okay, so any telescopes that you're going to use, you have to use the correct size diameter of this glass. Now this filters out 95.5% up to 98% of the radiation from the sun's rays. Okay, it also has it can pass through that light at 656.28 nanometers, and it has a built-in UV IR blocking filter at 400 nanometers to 1100 nanometers, and then it reduced that to 95% of the harmful rays. Now the special coatings itself, it blocks out that ultraviolet light, and it gets rid of any unwanted sources from the sun's spectrum. All right, this glass is actually a Baader glass. All right, this is a special kind of glass. Now the glass itself costs around about 400 quid. All right, just for the glass. Now I do like how Altair Astro have designed a CNC plastic with metallic flakes construction. All right, so you can attach it to your telescope. Now the reason why they've done this is to keep the costs down. Now I have no idea if CNC plastic will work, but they obviously have tested this on a variety of their equipment, and they say it does work extremely well, and this plastic can resist this kind of heat. Now the glass itself is a Baader glass, which is a PK7 glass with dielectric coatings. It's scratch proof coatings, but I'm not going to try it because for 400 quid for glass, I am not going to risk damaging something that I'm going to pay for. And like you say, this will last a lifetime if it's looked after. Now the benefits of the ERF, not only it reduces the heat buildup of any refractor, right? This heat buildup is filtered out before it enters the telescope tube. So as it goes through, it will cool down the tube. Also, it does provide a sharper image with no heat haze that are formed from the air currents inside the telescope tube. Also, it reduces the impact of heat on the equipment, prolonging more life on the QUARK Eyepiece. Very crucial piece of kit if you're going to use it in conjunction with your QUARK hydrogen alpha eyepiece. It protects the internal structure of the telescope, and it does not burn. It basically prevents any baffles getting burnt inside the telescope tube. It also stops any effects of the UV or IR filters that you use. It stops them from getting cracked or damaged. It also reduces the heating on the Etalon itself, which reduces the change of bandpass shift. In other words, what that means is that the bandpass shifting can also affect the focus, and also it can shift the bandpass signal. In other words, if you set your QUARK eyepiece to whatever setting you set, it can shift if the temperature of the tube changes. So you don't want that either. This will eliminate that process. What also allows it to do is allow for longer imaging sessions, which is ideal when you're taking animations or video footage. So you don't want any changes of the bandwidth through your QUARK. Cell itself can fit optical tubes of 147mm to 125mm. Now this ERF cell is also made of a lightweight, tough, UV resistant, embedded with plastic flakes or aluminium plastic flakes. I have no idea what that is, but obviously they put a bit of metallic in there to reduce, obviously to resist the heat, and it will give a clear aperture of 115.17 diameter. All right, the overall size is 160mm in diameter. Now I must highlight it straight away that this ERF should not be used on its own. Okay, you do not use this ERF if you're going to use any normal eyepiece. It does not work like that. This can still damage your eyes. If you want to view through any telescope, I advise that you use a white solar filter, an approved manufacturer solar filter. Okay, do not use this ERF for visual purposes. You connect this to the telescope and you do try to use it for visual stuff, I can guarantee you guys and girls, you will burn your eyes. This ERF is only designed for Etalon type telescopes or the QUARK Hydrogen Alpha eyepiece only. Alright, so please, when you buy this product, use this purely for the QUARK, nothing else. Do not use it for any visual stuff, because believe me guys and girls, you will damage your eyesight, guaranteed. Alright, this filter does not filter out the harmful rays to a certain degree that you can use it for your eyes. Alright, it's not adequate for that purpose. This is only adequate for the QUARK or any other telescope that has a built-in Etalon. Alright, it is very lightweight. Alright, to clean it, it's very easy. You just use a blower brush, alright, just to remove any of the dust particles. If you want to remove the stubborn greasy deposits, you can use a Baader Wonder Fluid and cleaning cloth. And also, if you want adjustable knobs here, they can order some adjustable knob sizes for you as well for different types of telescopes. Now this is porcelain, so this is designed to fit 4-inch telescopes or above, so up to 4-inch to 4.5 inch. Alright, and I must admit it's very well built, to say the least. Now I'll be honest with you guys and girls, when I first got this item, I was actually a bit disappointed being made out of CNC plastic. I was expecting it being made out of metal. Alright, but there are some nice touches. I do like the lock screws here. Alright, they seem to be really robust. The actual main body does look robust. They put capsize bolts as well, alright, to keep the mirror cell in. There is spacings as well to keep it central into the cell. Alright, so that Baader ERF filter glass system is well secured, and I do like this cap All right, there is a nice protective cap here, all right, which covers it. Would like to see a protective cap underneath as well, because that would have been better as well to give that extra protection. But apart from that, I was a bit disappointed at first, but then I looked closely, and if you were going to buy this out of an aluminium construction, so all metal body cell, all right, this will cost in thousands of pounds, and I mean, it's not a cheap product. So I can understand why Altair Astro have devised an alternative solution to make it affordable for people that really do need an ERF. So if you've got a QUARK, this optical device will enable you to use the QUARK safely with a bigger telescope. All right, highly recommend it. All right, because the QUARK now, I can use it on the biggest telescope that I have. I can use it on my 102mm refractor, or I can use it on the 150mm triplet. All right, and I think that's more than enough. All right, I've got a large setup, a very large setup that I can use to capture much finer detail of the sun's surface. All right, with the QUARK. So I'm really impressed with the build. I was disappointed of being made out of plastic, but think about it, guys and girls. Even though it's printed CNC plastic, it does feel like good quality here. To keep costs low, making it affordable. But so far, build quality, the optical glass looks very impressive, and it's the cheapest ERF that I can find at the moment. You can buy the optical glass from Baader separately, but the only problem with that is you've got to find another way to secure it. You've got to make your own solar cell. However, with Altair Astro, they've made this product so you don't have to. So this is the smallest size they do. They do bigger sizes as well. I think they go up to about 8 inch as well. But that must be a huge cell, all right, to have something as large as that. But they do them in different sizes. Again, please check out Altair Astro, all right, in the website for this ERF filter system. So as you can see, I've got my Skywatcher 102mm Achromat, and I've got my trusty Daystar QUARK, and as you can see, looks very impressive. I'm really looking forward to this. All right, to use the Altair Astro ERF filter system, all you do is you switch on the QUARK, let it get to its bandwidth, all right, and then before you point it to the sun, you remove the dust cap from your dew shield. You remove the cap like so, and then we're going to fit it over the ERF like so. And hold on, wait a second, something's not right here. What's going on? Oh no. Oh no. Oh no. Right, I think we've hit a problem here, guys and girls. Just need to show you closer. These screws are all the way down, okay? And the main problem is that this does not fit the Skywatcher. So this is really is a disappointing find to see, okay? I'm not very happy about that, and it's very dangerous to use something like this where it's insecure. So I've hit a bit of a dilemma here. I have no idea how the hell I'm going to get this sorted out. So I'm not very happy at all that it was advertised to fit 4-inch refractors. And yeah, very disappointed with that. Very disappointed. So then, guys and girls, I was devastated that this didn't fit. And I'll be honest with you guys and girls, I've really made the mistake. I've made what I should have done is should have contacted Altair Astro. On the website it does state 147 to 121, okay, which is I think 124 is the actual aperture for this to fit. Now, one thing I have found out is I should have checked the diameter of my Skywatcher. Alright, I'll be honest with you guys and girls, I messed up there, and to be honest with you, it's not really Altair Astro's fault, because they did highlight, if you read the website properly, it is a bit misleading at first. I thought they just false advertise in a way. It's not actually strictly true. They did highlight the aperture. It seems to me it only fits their branded telescopes. So the Skywatcher is a bit narrower, and we can show you how narrow it is. I've measured across, and the actual diameter on the Skywatcher is 117 millimeters in diameter. So 117 millimeters in diameter is the actual size I really needed. This is only designed to fit 124 millimeter, which is the minimum size. So I've checked out Altair Astro's website, and they do make custom bolts, okay, for this ERF. Now at the moment I'm still waiting for a reply back. They haven't got back to me just yet, but these bolts are just not long enough. So it sort of disappointed me a little bit, but these bolts, these actual knobs here are pretty good, but they're just not long enough for the Skywatcher 102. Now maybe this will be adequate for the 120 millimeter variant of this. That would have been better, so it would have fit that, but for the 102 this is too big. And also I should not be using an ERF which is not secure enough. So I've got to think of a possible solution to try and get this sorted out for you guys and girls, because at the moment I pay for something and it doesn't work, it doesn't fit properly, and that's not acceptable. So I've got to try and figure out how I'm going to do this. So then, guys and girls, all is not lost. So at the moment the dilemma, I can't get it fitted onto this telescope. So I've measured up these bolts. I'm still waiting for a reply from Altair Astro whether they can make these bolts a little bit longer. So the alternative, I measured them up and I find out that these are M16. They have a metric thread of M16, and I've just purchased 3 of these nylon bolts from there, and they screw perfectly onto the cell unit itself. So M16 nylon bolts, these are a little bit longer. Again, I've provided a link at this description below, and these bolts, as you can see there, they just simply screw on there like so. Okay, as you can see there, I've got a lot more. See, I've got a lot more travel. So as I can fit it onto the telescope tube, all right, I can then clamp the system like so. So yeah, so that's the alternative. So now we've got the ERF in place. Upon closer inspection, there is one thing I do need to highlight to you guys and girls. As you can see, even with the bolts, it is secure, but I'm still not happy with it. There's still a risk of this ERF coming off and obviously exposing all that heat from the sun down to the quark. All right, it's too risky. So as you can see there, there's too much of a gap and it's quite dangerous. All right, and I don't want to chance it, to be honest with you guys and girls. It really is not adequate. So I need to find out another possible solution. As you can see, we're almost there, but I'm not convinced that this is sturdy enough. So you can see how much play there is. All right, there is quite a lot of a gap there. All right, and I'm not happy with that, not one bit. So yeah, so it looks to me I need to make something like a spacer unit so that it fits over the tube, and then I can mount it onto the ERF. But as you can see there, it's this part here is actually sitting on the glass, and you do not want that either. So in order to make our spacer, I've got myself, doesn't matter what size wood you need, but the thickness is really important. Now this is MDF wood, and I've got this 1 inch or 25 millimeters thick, so it will match the actual width, the actual depth we've measured on the ERF. So as you can see, it doesn't matter what size material you require. If you're going to make the spacer, then you're going to get as much material as you can. Now there is an alternative to this, is you can use a thinner piece of 18 millimeter thick and have 2 sections, okay, and do it that way. Because the reason why I ordered this is I'm going to make the spacer not only just to fit around the optical tube, but also to have a flange area. Now the flange part will literally stop the spacer from falling all the way down through the tube. All right, I want it to be so that the spacer sits on the dew shield and doesn't slide down. So this is the reason why, using a device like the Dremel with its specialized tool, I'm using a 3.2 mil drilling bit, which is the milling bit on the Dremel, and I use this circumference circle cutter. You can get this from a lot of DIY stores, and basically it's like a compass system. As you mark the area of your work, if the circle you require, this will cut perfect circles, okay, at any given size, at a given depth. Now the depth I want to leave is, I don't want to go too much. I need to leave at least 6 millimeter of depth. All right, so 6 millimeter will go, it will go to a certain point, okay, so I don't want to go too much. All right, so first off, you've got to use MDF. You can use plastic, but it's not very easy to machine compared to MDF. Now MDF is a very fibrous material and it's very easily to machine. You may want to use an alternative. If you're very fortunate to have a 3D printer, you can 3D print the spacer required. But for most of us, because we don't have a 3D printer, I'd love to have one and have one printed out. That would be better. But however, MDF board will be a bit messy, but then it will do the job. Okay, so that's why I've gone for the simplest solution. Plastic would have been great, but trouble is when you machine plastic, as it melts, as you cut through the material, it sort of resets itself. So you got to be very careful with that stuff. Plus, plastic can be quite dangerous if you don't know what you're doing. With MDF, it's very easy to machine, very easy to work with, and you can cut really nice, perfect shapes on this board, okay, without any dramas. So the first thing you want to do is, before you start milling or drilling, the first thing you want to do is mark out the area. Now, okay, you're going to get yourself a compass, and basically what you're going to do is, because we've measured the outside area of 145, you want to measure half of the 145 millimeter. So in theory, from the center point, get yourself a ruler, okay, and then just measure up the circumference. So when you draw a circle, you'll get the perfect size. So we want 72.5 to get a circle of 145 millimeters. So you just measure her up like so. The camera angle is not that great, I'm afraid, but once you've got your desired circle circumference, so I've got 72.5, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to draw the circle carefully. To get my 145 diameter spacer that we want. Okay, just carefully go all the way around until you've got what you want. The next part is we're going to do the dew shield diameter. Okay, like we did before, we measured the dew shield and it was 116 millimeters on the 102. So what we're going to do is we just again measure the point. Half of 116 will be around about 58 millimeters. So again, same detail. Once you've marked out 58, we're then going to draw a circle all the way around. Just initially draw all the way around to get the dew shield diameter. Just be careful when you're doing this, but you just want to get a nice circle. As you can see there, we've got the area of the spacer looking out. So the next one, we need to do the actual aperture of the telescope. So because this lens diameter is 102, we're going to half it again to 51 diameter. Okay, same detail, using the point, and just measure 51 circumference. So I've got 51, same detail. Draw that circle across. So as you can see there, you can roughly see that we've got what the spacer will look like. Okay, so this is the outside diameter, so this will sit inside the ERF snugly. When we cut down to the material, you can see that the outer part is the dew shield, and then you've got the clear aperture of the 102mm aperture there. What we're trying to do is we're going to cut into the material and cut a groove inside here to the depth, leaving at least 6mm material inside that part. Once we get that part there, we can then start to begin to cut into the inside diameter, then the outside. Okay, so you do it in sequence first so that you can cut each bit. Okay, so you just do it bit by bit and you'll work it out as you go along. But this is what I'm trying to do with this part here, this little ridge. As the spacer sits on the telescope dew shield, because of the lip with the 6mm of material still left, this will slide down on the material and it won't go all the way down. This will give a secure, snug fit. Okay, so this is why we're doing this spacer. What we're going to do is we're going to put 3mm or 2.5mm pilot hole in the dead center where we've marked it out. Remember, make sure you wear some eye protection and make sure you put a face mask. The reason to put a face mask is you don't want to be breathing in the MDF material, because you know it's very fibrous. You don't want it to get into your lungs. So eye protection when drilling or milling any parts of this material. So what we're going to do is just going to drill the center hole. We don't need to drill all the way through, we just want to drill it so that we've got a So now we've got the tool set up, we've got it lined up to the outside, on the outside of the dew shield bit. So we're just going to use a pilot hole first to start off the process. We haven't put the milling tool yet. So what we do is switch her on. Okay. As you can see there, we started off the pilot hole. This is very crucial. Provided you're inside, don't go past that point. So you want to go inside that circle. So you can see there is where we want to cut all the way along here. So I'm going to cut the actual depth I really want to go to. So I want to go down to about at least 90mm. Luckily, on this device, I can cut to that depth. Okay, there is a gauge there, all right, and I can see when I'm cutting down. I can, as I slide down, push down, I know what kind of depth I want to be. All right, so as I slide it all the way down, I know exactly where I want to cut. Okay, so we're going to start off there. Now you can use the milling tool. Apparently you can cut down to depth as well, but I prefer to use the normal drill bit first and then use the milling tool to cut the side. Okay, and then go along that way. So as you can see here, I've cut it. I think I was a bit too deep there, and it's the reason I've got ridges. But as you can see in the inside diameter, I'm still within limits. Okay, it's only slight, but as long as I've got a clear aperture in the center, that's fine. The main important bit is the outside part where the dew shield slides. As you see, I'm slightly off from this point there, but I can always sand it down. Okay, and that's a good thing about MDF. You can sand things down to get the correct measurement. So what we're going to do is we're going to cut the outside perimeter, only a mild depth. All right, no, we're not going to go too deep. All right, we're just going to cut the outer perimeter like so. Again, clean up the material. Okay, it's very crucial that you get this cleared up. It just aids the cutting tool. Okay, then try again. So as you can see here, after a lot of cutting around and just playing around with the Dremel and all that, as you can see here, you can see there's the ridge that I was talking about. If you carefully cut it down, you get to a certain depth. Obviously here I'm not quite deep enough, but it's enough to actually fit over the dew shield. Okay, so as you can see there, I am slightly not cut very well there, but as you can see there, I can always sand this part down using the Dremel, using the sanding tool, and just cut this circle part here. Okay, so I'm undercut, but it's better to be undercut than overcut. So as you can see there, I just need to sand this part down. I might need to go even deeper along the ridge, but as you can see there, it's looking really good already. All right, and this is the space that I was talking about. So the space is going to hold the ERF a lot more efficient. Okay, so there's still plenty of work I need to go through. One thing you can do, and I found it very easy, you can use circular cutting discs. At the moment I have one here, which is the 115 diameter, which you can use. To cut this overall size, you can get a 145mm diameter circle cutter. This is the 115, which you can cut into there as well. And you can get a 102mm circle cutter as well. But you've got to do this in stages, all right? If you're using any of the circular cutting discs, bear in mind, you just got to gradually, bit by bit, cut a little bit in the material depth on the outside and then work yourself from the inside and just gradually cut each part in segments. Also flip the work round to cut on the other side. That also helps to keep the overall diameter nice and smooth. So you've got to do it in stages if you're using the circular cutting discs. The circular cutting disc will be a lot quicker, a lot more accurate than the Dremel itself. The Dremel has it's not perfect, but you can use the cutting discs, all right? And it's the same process, but the problem with the cutting discs, you've got to get the right size disc to fit over your telescope setup. So it is quite hard to find the perfect size cutting discs for a given telescope. But as you can see there, I'm one of the lucky ones. I managed to get a circular cutting disc at 145mm diameter. Then I've got a cutting disc of 115 for the actual dew shield, and slightly, if you're using that cutting disc, you will need to sand this part down. And also you can get 102mm cutting disc as well. If not, you can get away with 100mm cutting disc, which I have one here. So you can use a 100mm cutting disc as well. All right, it's a little bit smaller. You may lose a bit of aperture, but not much. All right, but here I've got 102 and I can cut it to the full aperture of my given telescope. So there we have it. So a lot more sanding, a lot more work I need to do from the inside for this spacer to work. I might need to go down a little bit deeper because it is okay. It's probably around about 12mm. I'll just check. Well, around about 15mm, which is not bad. So we're actually 15mm in depth, but I feel that I need to go a little bit deeper so that this will fit a lot more snugly. So after a lot of sanding down, your housing for the spacer should look like this. Now, as you can see there, we've got, it's around about 8mm. I left it to 8mm flange area, and as you can see there, this now can just push fit onto the existing tube. Now, I've got my ST102. You take off the dew shield on this one, and all you do is then just you can slot it in there like so, and it should be a nice tight fit with no free play. All right, and that's what you want. Okay, it's good to slide in, and it slides in very nice and smooth. Okay, so you have to do a lot of sanding, okay, to get what you want. We've completed our spacer. As you can see, I have painted it using MDF paint, and then use some clear lac to give a bit of a shine, and also I used a Dremel with a sanding wheel just to put a slight 1mm indentation where the bolts are going to go through. Right, it's a very tight fit, and as you can see, as we put it onto the main telescope tube, you can see this is a very tight fit, and that's what you want. So there's a spacer in. Remember, I had to do the 6mm flange, and with that flange it stops the whole spacer from coming down the tube. Okay, so as you can see, it looks very professional. And then you then get your ERF, and then you line it up onto the spacer like so. Okay, and then you just line up where the indentations are. Okay, just do it bit by bit. As you can see there, the indentations help to secure it, but it also stops the threads getting worn away. And there you go. Just tighten up each screw so it's nice and tight. You don't need to be uber tight, just hand tight. Alright, just make sure that all of that is tight as, and as you can see, straight away we've got the EDRF a lot more secure, and as you can see, this is going nowhere. Okay, and I'm tilting the tube. I'm going to tilt the tube upside down, and look at that. So it's a good little modification using the spacer. Okay, that keeps the ERF in place. Okay, so yeah, very happy results so far. So that's how the spacer system works. So then, guys and girls, as you can see, the spacer is not just suitable for the 102mm refractor. I've made other spacers for my other telescopes. Now this one here is the 80mm ED on my Lunt engineering refractor, and the outside circumference for this one is 100mm, so it fits perfectly around this tube, with a clear opening of 80 millimeters. All right, so again, a little bit thicker, and it just fits on there nice and snug like that. The other one is I made one for the Altair Astro 66 ED refractor, and this one has an opening of 85 millimeters, okay, 85, with a clear opening of 66, and that just fits on there. And as you can see, both adaptions fit perfectly on both telescopes. And then you can then fit your ERF on there, same process. As you can see here, on the spacer for the ED80 with its clear opening of 100 millimeters, it's absolutely fine on the ERF. All right, bit bulky, but it fits perfectly on the 80 millimeter. You see on the 66 ED, you can see straight away the spacer works as well, okay, but look at it, it's not great, to be honest with you. And even though it will secure it, you can see straight away with the 85 opening, it's too bulky. So the whole setup, the ERF, is just far too much. And to be fair, it's even though it looks secure and I can get away with using it, I'm not really happy about using this. It's just an example that you can use the spacers to fit. The ERF was fine on the 80, which is completely fine, right? The spacer works really well on the 80, but on anything smaller, I would not recommend making a spacer or an ERF, or get this ERF to fit onto smaller telescopes. Personally, the IR UV filter is more than adequate on smaller telescopes like this. Okay, so the spacer is not a perfect match, to be honest with you, and to be honest with you, I will not be using this ERF on this telescope. All right, I'll stick to the Baader IR UV filter. It's much safer. Again, even though it looks safe, it's, to me, I don't think it's stable enough. So personally, I would be using this ERF at no less than 80 millimeter. Anything less than 80 millimeter of aperture, then I will not consider using this ERF. So please, if you want to make a spacer for smaller telescopes, fine. But here's a disclaimer: I'm not responsible for your actions. So if anything does happen, you either damage the ERF, or you damage your eyesight or your equipment, I'm not held responsible. This is just to show you guys and girls what you can achieve if you put your mind to it. But personally, I'm not trusting this at all, not one bit. So 80 millimeter, no less, to fit this ERF. Okay, guys, it's up to you guys and girls. The ball's in your court. So then, guys and girls, here's another example using these spacers. These spacers can also be used as conventional white solar filter lens cells. All right, now this one I've done is, this one comes in two pieces, and what I've done is I put two screws. I've put 4 screws at either side. All right, and this comes apart. Now, as you can see here, this is basically, this is the same design. All right, this one will fit the 102 millimeter refractor. So this is another one that's made. Now this part here is basically the same diameter as what I've cut, and I've just used a thinner 8 millimeter or 6 millimeter MDF board. Okay, that's all it is. All right, cutting the same part like always, and you should be good to go. All right, and that's how it works. So I've got screws here. They don't go all the way through. All right, so I've got tiny Phillips screws. All right, this is also countersunk. All right, so it's nice and flush. All right, and with this design, what this enables me to do is, if I move all my stuff out one way, I can get myself some Baader Astro Solar film. Right, now this is the solar film that I would use. This is highly recommended if you want to use any images, if you want to do any solar work, you know, if you want to see the sunspots in white light, okay, this is what you need to use. All right, this Baader Astro film, you can pay around about 20, maybe, yeah, £20 per A4 sheet. All right, it's a very thin film. Okay, and as you can see here, I've got enough space to make one last filter there. All right, and as you can see there, I've already used some on my last video many years ago. This lasts a long lifetime. Use a bit of super glue. All right, and all I'm going to do is just going to glue the patches. Okay, you don't need a lot, right? You just need something just to keep the solar film in place. All right, so I've got a thin layer of super glue, right? Just little bits, and what I do is I'm just going to stick over like so. All right, over the top like that. Okay, now don't worry if this super glue, it ripples the solar film, right? Don't worry about that. All right, what you want it to achieve is a good bond around this part, and then what you can do is grab yourself a very sharp knife, and then you're going to cut along around the solar film. Okay, see now we've got our solar filter glued up like so, and then we're going to place over like so, and then place over and then we just grab our screws that we just made, and then just line it up like so, like so, like so, like so, like so, and there you go. So with that, you've got a white solar filter. Okay, if you're a bit crucial, if there's any gaps and you're not too happy, you can always put a bit of silicone across like so, just to block off that, but to be honest with you, I don't think you really need that. And as you can see there, you've got a solar filter now. Right, do not worry about the ripple effect. It really does not matter whatsoever. All right, it's better to have some ripple effect, but that it now is now a safe white solar filter. So now grab your refractor, and now this solar filter now can fit over the refractor now. Okay, like so. It's a nice tight fit as well, and there you go. So this process can also make conventional solar filters, okay, solar white filters, and like you say, I thought I shared this idea out. It may give you an idea. Make yourself a proper MDF solar filter, all right, and as you say, it's quite an effective, it looks pretty professional as well. So there you go, check that one out. So if you want to do that, please feel free, get yourself some decent Baader solar film and do some white solar work, looking at sunspots. All right, this is good stuff. If it's looked after, this will last many years, and as you can see, right, as long as you don't damage the solar filter, all right, you're fine. Bear in mind, always check the film first. So shine the film against the sun, all right, so point the solar filter up towards the sun and try to look through. If you see any gaps or any damages where the sunlight pierces through, do not use the solar film. The good thing about this design is if it is damaged, you can always take the cover off, take off the old material, and then put the new material in. All right, and that's how you can do it. All right, so please, it's a good idea. Always check the solar filter before use. So then, guys and girls, here we go. We've got a nice lovely day this morning, a bit cold, and as you can see, we've got the sun behind me just rising up. I'm going to wait till a good hour till it gets high enough so we can get some good sky conditions, because so the higher the sun in the sky, the better the views are going to be, especially through the QUARK. So I really can't wait to see what kind of views I'm going to get through the QUARK with the extra 4" of aperture on this refractor. So wish me luck and let's do this.
So, as you can see here, we've got a nice big prominence on the sun's detail, and as you can see there, we've got a nice crisp view. I've noticed that the image, you've got to wait for the QUARK to take on band on the next angstrom level. Once it takes on band, it will then focus the image. You then focus the image on your optics, you then adjust the focus slightly on your refractor, and as you can see there, we've got a nice good view there of a nice prominence. So as you can see there, some loads of detail, and not the clearest of days, to be fair. There is a slight cloud haze, so some of the images you see there is not particularly great, but I've got some detail. So there is, like you say, there's a bit of bad seeing there, but there's nothing I can do. But as you can see there, we've got a nice good detail there of the sun surface. We've got a nice prominence. If we take a closer look, we can check out any more detail. I've got a few prominences there. I love my prominences. I've got the setting on +2 angstroms on the QUARK, so we've got both the surface detail and some of the prominences. But again, you've got to tweak your refractor, see if it's working all right. But so far, just going to check the outer edge. got some detail there as well. There seems to be a lot of prominences today as we scroll through. Oh, we've got massive ones there. Wow, look at them. They're huge. Got a lot of detail there. I might actually take that part there. As I say, there's been a lot of activity lately around the sun's disk. So again, just scan the surface. Because you're using a high power refractor with 4" of aperture, you know, you've got a lot of surface to cover. So the refractor is great for close-ups. So you just got to scan the disc, pick out what you want to image. The sea is not that great today. Would like to. I've got some promises there. There seems to be a lot of activity today, but the seeing conditions is abysmal. But again, you go the next day, you might get a different result. I've got some surface detail there, so I might take that as well. That's a nice image to take. If I just oh, that's a long little stretch there, like a solar prominence there, really thin one sticking out from there. So yeah, there's some good detail there. So what I'll do is I'll go for that one because it's a nice little one. Again, I'm using the highest capture area as possible. Again, you don't want to overwash it, so adjust your exposure just right. And the gain's a bit too much, so I'm trying to lower the gain because I don't want to put it above 50% gain, because if you put the gain too high, you're not going to get a decent result. So we're just checking here. I've got 30 frames per second, which is not bad from this screen size. I'm going to try raw 24. Yep, getting 30 frames per second, which is good. I've got some good amount of detail there. And I might actually do a capture. And again, I don't need a lot of capture. Again, just, I would say, even just, in fact, I'll go for a minute. I'll go for a minute of recording. Okay. Before I do that, I'm just gonna rejig the image. So I'll try and get as much detail as I can. So you just got to, let's say you don't need massive amount of recordings, but you just want just enough. It seems to think I've got a lot of slack on the drive, so I need to tighten that up. I think seems to be a lot of slack there, so I need to sort that one out on the mount. Again, you adjust the mount periodically on the drives, okay, so you will lose. I've got one right. Okay, let me just, don't want to do that, just need to, I've got a lot of slack. Okay, I'll take a shot from there. the highest video option. This will be 30 frames per second, so it's not massive amount of data, but we can get some nice detail on the surface detail and some prominences. I might go back to the bigger one, but 30 frames per second is not too bad. As you can see, I've got to start sacking the imaging because the sun's going behind the roof, because obviously it's not high enough, and because it's still winter, the sun's quite low, so I've had to cancel the imaging session. But so far I've been tracking that object. I've been tracking the sun for a good 2.5 hours, and as you can see, we've got no dramas at all with the improvised spacer and nuts. It's all held out massively, and as you can see, we can use the temperature gauge. So at the moment 9 degrees, it's gone up. Now this is what I find so weird is it gets really cold at that point. It's at 7 degrees and going all the way down. And it gets hot to this point. But as we check here, 19.20 degrees at the QUARK camera 15. So yeah, it gets hot to this point, but it's not actually burning anything, so it's definitely the ERF is definitely working. So it gets really cold at this point, then it gradually builds up the temperature, but as you can see there, up to about 20 degrees, 22 degrees, and the QUARK's still protected. So either way, the ERF has definitely worked massively there, and I've had no dramas at all with the modification. And just double check one more last time. Yeah, it's pretty good. 2.5 hours. Yeah, the heat generates, and then yeah, it gets cool, and then you just check here. Yeah, it's also going to get hot at the QUARK and at the camera end. No, still no dramas. So yeah, very good. Yeah, very good setup there. Got some good images of the some of the prominences, and really happy with the results so far. So now I'm going to park up the telescope and off on my way. And like always, I've got my next door neighbour's cat. Also want to be taking part. She obviously wants to take part of the imaging session. So yeah, it is what it is.
Well, guys and girls, what do you reckon? Fantastic results. I must admit, the Altair Astro ERF has performed fantastic. Being able to achieve what is stated in their website, it helped the telescope cool down the main optical tube. It does actually enhance the performance of the QUARK, being able to see a lot more detail. The views from it are very contrasty, very sharp. So the ERF has done an amazing job. Really is impressive. The only qualms I have about this product is, yes, I do like the design. I do like the removable dust cover to protect the Baader filter. Could do with a filter from the other end to protect it even further. I do like that nice touch. It's a real shame that the screws are a bit on the small side. You can remove the dew shield to fit it, but personally I don't think it's that secure. So with the dew shield, it's more secure with the dew shield. I don't know why that is. It's a real shame they haven't given you the longer screws, which would be better. The ERF filter system is a dangerous product if it's not used correctly. The adaptation kit that I've made for fitting this works, but I feel that the adaptation plate should be used with, I think, on an 80mm refractor or above. Anything smaller, like my 66 ED, it was only an example that I used, but personally it's not crucial to have an ERF. And with that size being overwhelmed, that main tube anyway, I feel that it's not fit for purpose. You don't really need an ERF on a smaller aperture telescope like the 66. So anything smaller than 80mm, then I would not recommend making the adaptation plate. Yes, it does work and it works quite well, but if you get those sizes wrong and they don't fit, or it comes off for whatever reason, again, I'm not responsible for your actions. Okay, the adaptation plate does work if it's fitted right, and as you can see, it's snugly tight. It's not going to go anywhere. So it does work effective, but please take your time. Use this guide to help you make your own, but I can show you that every telescope setup, everyone's telescope is way different, so you must measure up your adaptation ring properly. And if it's just a stiff push fit, that's better. It's better to have it to force it in than to have it loose, so it wiggles about. You don't want that. You don't want no flexure in that adaptation ring. You want it so it's a push fit, so you can push it straight in, and then you can use the bolts to screw it in there. It does clamp in very well, very effective, and you should not get any dramas with it. So it does work, but please take this project with caution. Okay, but apart from that, I definitely recommend this product. I can understand why Altair Astro have made it out of plastic to keep costs down, to making it affordable. I totally get it. The one thing I would say, that they need to make slightly bigger screws to fit the Skywatcher 1 or 2, and maybe design adapter plates. You can use small adapter plates, as I've proven here. If it's made correctly, it serves its purpose and it's safe to use. But it's only safe to use if you follow the guide and measure up your existing setup properly. It's very crucial that that spacer is made so you can fit it, but it will be tight. It'll be a tight fit. So make the product safe to use, but it just depends how you follow that project guide. So yes, I would highly recommend it. Anyone, this ERF, 4 stars without a doubt. Again, I'm still waiting confirmation for whether
they're going to make the bigger bolts for me. I know they're a bit busy at the moment, but I do appreciate their concern, and hopefully I'll get the newer screws. But again, these screws that I use work, they're the correct thread, and they bolt in properly, and it's safe to use. So other than that, again, if you like watching this video, please hit a like button. And again, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe onto my channel. And share this video out, because this will probably help a lot of people who are considering the ERF and don't know what to do. Please share it out so that it puts them in the right direction, so that this video will help them out massively. And also hit the notifications bell, because believe me, guys and girls, I have loads more projects coming your way. It's just that I need those clear skies. Once the clear skies are sorted out, I can then begin, start filming, and I will notify you as soon as I can, so that you get notified on the latest videos coming very, very soon. So thanks again, thanks for watching, and I wish you all clear skies.